So you might wonder how to find your true self, how to find that part of you, and I'd like to share how I connected to something much greater than myself individually, and what the pathway was that I found most successful and most beneficial, and you might find that to be something worthwhile for you too. So many years ago, I wanted to know what my purpose was, and I wanted to know why I was here and living this life today and having the many travails that seem to befall me, the many missteps that I seem to make, and why these things were occurring. And I used to wake up early in the morning, and I'm not suggesting that you do that here, but I used to wake up around 3 a.m. because I had a regular job, and it was a priority for me to establish my practice, my meditational practice. And I was in a situation where I had the ability to get up at that time, and I would spend about 3 hours. So it was from about 3 until 6 in the morning that I would go and sit in a separate location away from my bed so that I didn't fall back asleep, or that was the intention anyway, because I think I did sometimes. But the intention was to be in a position where I could be receptive to receive insights. I didn't know if I could receive such insights, but I would start with a question and I'd write it down. And then I would enter a contemplative, kind of meditational platform of wanting and engagement. And it wasn't a needy sort of wanting. It wasn't a lower energy kind of engagement. It was a wanting to know in a loving sort of way. And so I would sit there, and I did this for many months. And I thought, well, gosh, this just isn't working. I'm not getting anything. And so I was doing it again one morning, and I remembered sneezing. And as I sneezed, I realized that I was positioned above my body. And as I sneezed, that view diminished, and I zipped back into the body. I've honestly never had that happen and probably wouldn't have known of that happening because I would have thought that I'd just fallen asleep. But I hadn't. I'd been awake and alert and had gone into whatever this was. And so I share this, and I'll share some other stories along this line. But I share this because this was my first glimpse of something that was beyond my mental knowingness. It was my establishing my meditational practice. And I believe that this was the first blush, the first encounter of moving into wanting to know something more than what I wanted to know within my profession. Because I'd wanted to know my purpose for a long time, but I never stayed with it very long. I never stayed with the engagement of wanting it for more than just a few moments, and then I'd move on to something else because the answer didn't immediately pop into my mind. And I thought, well, this is too difficult. I'm never going to find it this way. But I'll tell you, that's the mind's mental engagement to shift you off course. And I didn't know about the mentalness from which we exist now. I didn't know and hadn't heard of the concept of being in a mind game all of the time. And what I'll say is that we are in a mind game, and that's why present moment awareness is so critical and key. Because when you stay in the present moment, you can redirect the mind's mental assault on moving into that more aligned space by giving you to-do lists and objectives and things that you have to accomplish that are certainly much more achievable and measurable and wanted than sitting here contemplating something that has no basis and no point of reality, no relevance, no means to advance, because this thing you want is really difficult to find. That's the mind game. And so recognize that present moment awareness is valid and relevant and necessary, because it keeps you engaged in what's going on around you and not the speculations, not the what ifs of life that the mind will interject. And so stay in that present moment space. Stay engaged. Move out of the mental posturing that the mind will try to get you to move into, because it will keep slinging and projecting other thoughts of consideration until you latch on to one of them. And your job is to stay aware of this, so that when the mind does so, you chuckle. You don't judge it, because then you're just on the other side of the fence. But you chuckle and you throw the mind off and out of balance by doing so. And so, consider this. Consider that it is time for you to regain awareness, for you to become that present moment awareness, for you to get into the realization and the understanding of what is as you move to enlist more.